It was supposed to be our forever home. Gary, Indiana, 2011. The house on Carolina Street wasn't much to look at, but it was ours. For me and my 3 kids, it was a new beginning. The first few weeks were quiet, normal. We unpacked boxes, painted walls, and filled the rooms with laughter. It felt like we were finally building a life. Then, the flies came. Not just a few, but swarms. Thick black clouds of them, clinging to the windows in the middle of winter. No matter how many times we cleaned, they came back. It was strange, unsettling. That was the first sign. Soon after, the nights weren't quiet anymore. I'd be in bed and hear footsteps creaking on the wooden stairs, slow and heavy, when the kids were fast asleep. I told myself it was just an old house, settling. You try to reason with it, to find a logical explanation for everything, but the feeling of being watched, that's harder to explain away. My daughter started talking to an imaginary friend. She said he lived in the closet. Kids have imaginary friends, right? But then she told me the friend hurt her sometimes. The fear started to sink in, cold and deep. One night, I was cleaning up after dinner, and I heard my son screaming from the living room. I ran in, and he was staring at the wall, terrified. He said he saw a man walking backward up the wall. I saw nothing, but the look on his face, that was real. The nights grew worse. We'd hear growling noises coming from the basement. Doors would slam shut on their own. Objects would move. I'd put my keys on the counter, turn my back for a second, and they'd be on the floor across the room. It was escalating, moving from strange sounds to physical interactions. I felt like I was losing my mind. Was I just tired, stressed? But how could we all be imagining the same things? I was home alone one evening when I heard a thud from the basement. The door was locked, but the sound was clear. I stood at the top of the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear something down there, a low, guttural growl that didn't sound human. It felt like it was right on the other side of the door. I backed away, grabbed my phone, and called the police. When they arrived, they searched the house from top to bottom. They found nothing. No signs of a break-in, no one hiding. They probably thought I was crazy. One of the officers looked at me with pity. He suggested it might be the pipes. It wasn't the pipes. We brought in a clairvoyant, someone who said they could speak to spirits. They walked through the house and immediately felt a heavy presence. They told me there were over 200 demons in the basement, all clawing to get out. That was the moment my fear turned into pure terror. This wasn't just a ghost. It was something malevolent, something dangerous. I knew I had to get my children out of there. Even social workers started to witness things. A case manager from the Department of Child Services was interviewing my son when a strange, wet footprint appeared on the living room floor. There was no water anywhere. She saw it with her own eyes. Later, during a home visit, she and a nurse watched my oldest son get thrown against the wall by an unseen force. They documented it in their official reports. This wasn't just my story anymore. Other people were seeing it. Doctors, nurses, police officers. They couldn't explain it. A hospital psychiatrist evaluated me and the children. They wanted to rule out any shared delusion or mental illness. During my son's evaluation at the hospital, with his grandmother and a caseworker present, he began speaking in a deep, unnatural voice. He started walking backward up a wall, his feet flat against it, then flipped over and landed on his feet. The hospital staff who witnessed it were terrified. They called for a chaplain. The church got involved. A Catholic priest came to the house to perform an exorcism. He said that during the rites, the house itself seemed to react. The lights flickered, oil began to seep from the walls, and the growling from the basement grew louder, more aggressive. He performed multiple exorcisms, but each time, the evil presence seemed to fight back harder. It felt like a war was being waged in our home, and we were caught in the middle. We couldn't live there anymore. We had to abandon everything. We left our home, our belongings, our memories, all of it. We just walked away with the clothes on our backs. There was no other choice. It was a matter of survival. The house on Carolina Street sat empty for a while, a dark stain on the neighborhood. People would drive by and stare, whispering stories about the demon house. In 2014, Zach Bagans, a paranormal investigator, bought the house. He wanted to film a documentary to capture definitive proof of what we experienced. His film crew reported their own terrifying encounters, equipment failing, crew members becoming physically ill, and disembodied voices caught on tape. They experienced the same oppressive energy that had driven us out. After their investigation, they felt the house was too dangerous to remain standing. 2 years later, in 2016, the house was demolished. They tore it down, board by board, until nothing was left but an empty lot. They filled in the basement, burying whatever was down there under tons of dirt. But does that really get rid of it? Tearing down the walls doesn't destroy the evil that lived within them. The house is gone, but the questions remain. What was inside that house? Where did it come from? And where did it go? We survived, but we'll never be the same. The scars from that place will stay with us forever. Some things you can't just tear down and bury. Some things follow you.